Hey everybody, how are we all doing today? My name is Morgan Lauff, and I just want to thank you for joining me on my little presentation on a pretty well known film composer. His name is John Williams, and judging by the image that I've included in this PowerPoint, there's a couple of films that you might recognize his music from. So I wanted to do a little bit of an analysis, not only on his career, but just how he uses his film scores to culturally appropriate our society, especially our modern society, because he's been around for a while, and how we view the idea of a film soundtrack and what it does to us viscerally. So let's dig in. So, who is John Williams? Well, aside from the well known fact that he's a pretty well known film composer, he's also a brilliant musician and he is a very, very humble person. If you don't know the name, you certainly know the films. He's scored films such as Jaws, which is my favorite movie, Star Wars, Jurassic Park, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and the subsequent other Indiana Jones sequels, E.T. the Extraterrestrial, and Schindler's List. John Williams actually just celebrated his 89th birthday a couple days ago. He was born in New York in 1932 and studied music at Juilliard as a jazz pianist. And he realized early on while studying in Juilliard that his competition was pretty fierce there. So he said to himself, well, I don't think I'm going to make it as a musician, so I might as well stick with composing. And he found his way to Hollywood, where he started composing for television shows and then working his way up to pretty well known feature films. His legendary partnership with filmmaker Steven Spielberg, who's very well known for Jaws and Jurassic Park, and George Lucas, of course, Star Wars, and then their partnership with Indiana Jones series, their films allowed Williams to bring characters from Star Wars and Indiana Jones to life on the silver screen using his film scores. Very, very iconic film scores determining the characteristic of a person, a place, and a time period. Because of his wonderful success, he has received 5 Academy Awards and a subsequent 51 nominations just for Academy Awards alone. So that's pretty awesome. I think he holds the record for the number of nominations he's received over the years, among dozens, of course, of Grammys, of BAFTAs, and Golden Globes, anything that literally has to do with the entertainment business and awards, John Williams has either been nominated or won. So, Steven Spielberg went on record saying, I have to say, without question, John Williams has been the single most significant contributor to my success as a filmmaker. And it's safe to say, I'd agree with that. So, with this class, we kind of deal with the subject of what is art, determining the idea and the practicality of art versus commercialism, marketing, and using it for non-artistic purposes. So, where is the line drawn between film and the commercialism of film and the art of film, such as cinematography and the way things are shot, the way things are performed, and in this case, the way things are scored in terms of music. So let's dive in with 2 references that I'm going to really highlight today, and those are Raiders of the Lost Ark and Jaws. 2 films that, in my opinion, really exemplify the use of practicality in film scores in the vein and in the realm of John Williams and his compositions. So Williams strives to give the character, whether it's Indiana Jones or Bruce the Shark, an iconic personality using scoring. So we all know the theme to Indiana Jones. We all know the theme to Jaws. Very, very simple notes for Jaws. With a film like Jaws, 3 simple notes painted the character of the shark perfectly. And those 3 repeated bass notes symbolize fear, recalls the heartbeat, the primordial rhythm of life. Their seemingly unstoppable, constant, and mechanical repetition effectively represent the shark, a primitive yet proficient killing machine moved only by the instinct for eating. when you really think about it, it makes sense because you only hear the theme whenever the shark is present. And in scenes, spoiler alert, where the shark isn't present, and for example, the two boys create like a decoy shark fin, you don't hear the theme whatsoever until you actually see the shark or the shark makes its presence known. Because you don't see the shark before the shark sees you. It's kind of a predator aspect of it. So it's kind of interesting. So if you ever want to watch Jaws again, kind of take a look at that and look at that aspect of how the theme is used to really represent and paint the character. And the same could be said for the what I like to call the Max Steiner approach. Max Steiner is a wonderful like adventure filmmaker composer, really known for the Saturday matinee serials, which inspired the Indiana Jones series. They're basically like cliffhangers, so it's very fast paced, very thematically driven, and the repetition and the recurring of the theme is really present in those serials. And the same thing can be said for Raiders of the Lost Ark, especially in the truck chase sequence, because it's a nonstop, interrupted musical accompaniment. Besides creating a unified perception of the frenzied editing of the sequence, which, in my opinion, is one of the best film sequences ever, it supports the action with extensive Mickey Mousing embodied or embedded rather in a relentless ostinato, which is a very uh, well used musical term that John Williams uses in films like Raiders of the Lost Ark. Very constant, uh, especially when it's a fast paced sequence and the truck is traveling, or when there's a lot of action going on, then the recurring of the theme, it's very present. So if you want to watch Raiders of the Lost Ark, I highly recommend really going back and looking at this scene and tell me what you think. So is John Williams a prophet? Is his film score considered religious? Well, Williams explains it like this. When scoring, there's a very basic human nonverbal aspect to our need to make music and use it as part of our human expression. It doesn't have to do with body movements. It doesn't have to do with the articulation of a language, but with something spiritual. So I would agree, and audiences can agree too, that Williams' music has a way of engaging them. Just like any sort of painting or performance that is well executed, it's used, and I use this term a lot, in a very visceral way where you can't necessarily explain it logically, but you can explain it through emotion. And that's what John Williams' music does in film. It exudes an emotion, and the emotion is represented by those beautifully arranged notes. So we get that feeling a little bit, or at least I do, with worship music. So can the same be said for worship? So there's an author that I was reading doing this research, and he argues that the somatic nature of popular music, and in this case, John Williams, mirrored in contemporary congregational songs, attests to the kinetic expression and experience that aligns with the embodied nature of Pentecostal charismatic Christianity. So it's not necessarily that we have to agree with what the content of the songs are, or the music, or anything like that, but we can't deny or disagree on how it makes us feel. Like looking at a painting or watching a performance, we don't have to necessarily agree with it, but that feeling of disagreement is also a feeling that's caused as a result of what we witnessed. So Williams' music in this case, though instrumental, it has a similar reception to the common hum or whistle. You know what I mean? The hum or whistle when we hum like the Indiana Jones theme or the Star Wars theme, we hum and whistle. Well, at least I do because I grew up in a religious family. Hymns and psalms and everything like that, not because it it is representing a message. It's just a catchy song that you can't get out of your head. It's almost like the It's a Small World song at Disneyland. So I'll leave you with this question. in terms of the religious experience, can faith and film have a universal appreciation? So, music and art in general is a universal language. The visceral feeling that people get is a universal feeling. So, can the same be said for faith? So, can we compare faith and film music in this case in the same way? Who knows? So, long winded, but let me wrap this up. John Williams, I grew up with John Williams, and I actually had the honor of seeing him at the Hollywood Bowl a couple years ago before COVID hit. And I never, because I'm in the entertainment industry, and I've met quite a few people. I don't mean to brag, but it's just you kind of become jaded because they're doing the same job as you are, and um, we're all in the same boat, but they're just making a lot more money than I am. But I've never been more starstruck in my life seeing John Williams walk on stage and conduct some of my favorite film scores. It was literally witnessing a legend. He was he I was witnessing history. I was witnessing greatness. So his soundtracks then have become synonymous with the idea and the inspiration of what a film soundtrack's role should be. It allows the viewing audience to further tell the story of what was already told on film. So the music itself continues on even for days or for months or years after watching the film, and the music in your mind creates this picture of your own that is not the same as anybody else's, and that music allows you to imagine and create a story of your own. And because of that, the inspiration for that, countless filmmakers and composers alike have continued that legacy that Williams has continued to leave because he's not retired. I'm pretty sure he's on board for Indiana Jones 5 whenever that's going to happen. So he's just a legend, and in my opinion he is a true artist, and an artist that not only has paved the way for a new idea or a new perception of film scores and how we look at films, and how we critique a film. Instead of saying that it's a good performance, we go, well, that film score kind of sucked, or that film score was revolutionary. So it's shaping the way that we think critically of a film or an artistic piece based on how we feel, and using that as a commercial and marketing output. Look at all the CDs of the soundtracks that have been released over the years, and the records and whatnot, and just the sales of that alone has skyrocketed over the last couple decades, and we haven't seen that in this century, and it's very, very interesting. So I'm going to leave you with just a couple questions. First question: how do you view a musical composition of a film score? Like John Williams. It doesn't even have to be John Williams. It could be Hans Zimmer. It could be Danny Elfman. Do you feel that those scores are revolutionary? Or do you feel that those scores serve the greater purpose of the film and it doesn't stand on its own? And the final question: how comfortable would you actually be if you watched a film like Star Wars without the music at all? Think about it. A little bit awkward, huh? All right, guys. I really appreciate it. Long winded, I know, but this was a lot of fun for me, and I hope it was just as much fun for you. And I'm going to go ahead and include a couple of scores from Raiders of the Lost Ark and Jaws in those particular scenes that I was talking about earlier, so you can get an idea of what I'm talking about without having to watch the whole movie to get to that part. So, thank you guys so much, and I hope you guys are well. Stay safe, and I will talk to you soon.